No one remembered when Arendelle had first been built. It wasn't the kind of place that made maps or headlines. It existed in the quiet margins of the world. A colony carved into the edge of a desert that stretched endlessly in every direction, where the wind carried dust instead of stories. 47 people lived there. They had come for different reasons. Some were engineers assigned to maintain the solar grid that shimmered just beyond the settlement. Others were farmers trying to coax life out of stubborn soil using recycled water and patience. A few were families who simply wanted distance, from cities, from noise, from the tangled mess of the outside world. Arendelle offered silence. And for a long time, that silence had felt peaceful. The last normal morning began like any other. At 6:12, the colony's central system logged routine activity. Water pumps engaged. Greenhouse lights activated. Temperature regulators adjusted against the desert heat that would soon rise. By 6:30, the colony was awake. Mara Voss stood in her kitchen, watching steam curl from her cup as the coffee machine sputtered through its cycle. Outside her window, the pale sun crept over the horizon, painting everything in a muted gold. Her son, Eli, sat cross-legged on the floor, pushing a small wheeled drone back and forth, making soft mechanical noises under his breath. "Don't forget your lessons today," Mara said absently. "I won't," Eli replied, not looking up. Across the colony, similar scenes unfolded. Jalen Ortiz checked irrigation lines in the greenhouse, muttering about pressure inconsistencies. Two technicians argued quietly over a diagnostic readout near the solar array. Someone laughed near the communal hall. Life, in its smallest and most ordinary form, continued. At 7:03, someone opened the main gate. No one noticed. The logs would later show that something changed at exactly 7:04. There was no alarm, no system failure, no external breach warning. Just a gap. A fraction of a second where every active system registered a fluctuation, so brief it would have gone unnoticed if not for what came after. At 7:05, all biometric signals vanished. Every heartbeat, every breath, gone. 3 days later, the supply drone arrived. It followed its programmed route, descending smoothly toward the landing pad at the edge of Arendelle. Its sensors scanned for movement, for heat signatures, for the usual bustle that greeted its weekly deliveries. There was nothing. Still it landed. The cargo bay opened with a soft hydraulic hiss, revealing neatly packed crates of food, medical supplies, and replacement parts. No one came to retrieve them. The drone waited. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 5 minutes. Its internal protocols flagged an anomaly. At 9:17, it transmitted a status report. Delivery complete. No recipient detected. The message reached a regional outpost 200 kilometers away. At first, it was dismissed as a communications glitch. Arendelle wasn't known for perfect signal reliability. Dust storms, atmospheric interference, there were always explanations. But when repeated pings went unanswered, concern began to settle in. By the end of the day, a recon team had been authorized. They arrived just before sunset. The transport vehicle rolled slowly through the open gate, its tires crunching softly against gravel that hadn't been disturbed in days. "Arendelle Colony, this is Recon Unit 3, the driver announced over the comms. "Do you copy?" Silence. The vehicle came to a stop near the center of the settlement. The first thing they noticed was the stillness. Not the peaceful kind Arendelle was known for, but something heavier, thicker. As if the air itself had been holding its breath for too long. "Fan out," said Commander Halleck. Standard sweep. 4 figures stepped out into the fading light. Inside the first house, the scene was wrong. Not chaotic. Not violent. Just interrupted. A bowl of food sat on the table, its contents dried and cracked. A chair was pulled halfway back, as though someone had just stood up. A glass lay on its side, a small puddle beneath it long since evaporated. "Anyone here?" one of the team members called. No answer. They moved through the rooms methodically. Beds were unmade. Personal items were scattered in casual disarray. A jacket hung over the back of a chair. Everything suggested presence. Recent presence. But there were no people. In another building, They found a child's room. Toys littered the floor. A small drone, its wheels worn from use, sat near the center, one side slightly lifted as if it had been dropped mid-play. One of the team members crouched, examining it. "It's still powered," she said, frowning. "Batteries low, but not dead." "How long?" Halleck asked. "Hard to say. Could be days." She reached out and nudged it gently. The drone rolled forward a few inches, then stopped. The faint sound it made, soft, mechanical, echoed too loudly in the empty room. Outside, the wind began to pick up. Dust swept through the streets, whispering against metal walls and open doorways. They checked every building. The greenhouse. The control center. The storage units. All the same. Signs of life, frozen in place. No signs of departure. No tracks leading away from the colony. No vehicles missing. No evidence that anyone had tried to leave. "Where did they go?" someone asked quietly. No one had an answer. As darkness settled over Arendelle, the team regrouped near the central hub. Portable lights cast long shadows across the empty settlement, stretching and shifting with the wind. Halleck stood in silence, reviewing the data streaming in from their scans. "No heat signatures," he said finally. "No residual movement. It's like they just blinked out." "That's not possible," another replied. Halleck didn't argue. Because standing there, surrounded by untouched lives and unanswered questions, it felt like the only explanation that fit. Later that night, as the team prepared to establish a temporary base, one of them noticed something. A door. At the far end of the colony. Slowly creaking open. No one was near it. No wind strong enough to move it. Just a gradual, deliberate motion. They all saw it. And for a moment, no one spoke. Because the silence of Arendelle no longer felt empty. It felt like it was waiting. The night did not pass easily. No one said it out loud, but sleep felt like a risk. The recon team set up inside the central hub, sealing the entrances, checking and rechecking their equipment. Portable floodlights were positioned outside, bathing the immediate area in harsh white light that pushed the darkness back, but not far enough. Beyond the light, Arendelle disappeared into shadow. And from those shadows came nothing. No animals. No distant windstorms. No shifting metal or creaking structures. Just silence. Too complete. At 2:13, Technician Rhea logged an audio anomaly. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, removing one side of her headset. "Hear what?" Halleck asked without looking up. She hesitated. It sounded like movement. Outside. Near the residential row. Halleck stood slowly. Direction. She pointed. They listened. At first, there was nothing. A soft, measured sound. The pause. Not the random clatter of loose debris. Not the uneven rhythm of wind. Footsteps. "Everyone up," Halleck said quietly. Weapons weren't drawn, but hands hovered close. The team moved as a unit toward the exit, careful, controlled. Halleck keyed the outer door. It slid open with a low mechanical hum that felt far too loud in the stillness. The floodlights illuminated the empty street. For a moment, nothing. Then Rhea pointed. There. At the far end of the colony, just beyond the reach of the brightest lights, something moved. A figure. Standing still. Watching. "Identify yourself." Halleck called out. No response. The figure stepped forward. Slowly. Deliberately. The light caught its face. A woman. Dust-covered. Eyes open, too wide. Rhea's breath caught. "That's Mara Voss," another team member finished. They had seen her image in the colony records. There was no mistake. "She's alive," someone said, relief creeping into their voice. But Halleck didn't move. "Stay back," he warned. Mara took another step forward. Then another. Her movements were off. Too smooth. Too even. Like something imitating the idea of walking rather than performing it naturally. Her arms hung loosely at her sides. Her head remained perfectly level. And she did not blink. Not once. "Mara," Halleck said carefully, "can you hear me?" She stopped. For a second, everything froze. Her mouth opened. "We apologize for the interruption." The voice was hers. But also not. It was flat. Controlled. Lacking any trace of emotion. And as the words echoed across the empty colony, more voices joined in. From behind them. From the sides. From every direction. We apologize for the interruption. The team turned. Figures were emerging from the buildings. Doors opening. Shadows shifting. People stepping out into the light. One by one. Then dozens. All 47 colonists. Every single one. Alive. Walking. Returning. They're back, Rhea whispered, her voice trembling between hope and fear. At first glance, it looked like a miracle. No injuries. No visible harm. No signs of dehydration or exposure. But the longer they watched, the more wrong it became. They moved in perfect rhythm. Not identical, but synchronized in a way that felt unnatural. No one spoke to each other. No one looked around. Every pair of eyes was fixed on the recon team. Unblinking. Halleck took a step forward despite himself. "Where have you been?" he asked. No immediate response. Then as one, every colonist tilted their head slightly. The same angle. The same motion. "We are here now." A child stepped forward from the group. Eli. The small drone still clutched loosely in his hand. His gaze locked onto Rhea. She knelt instinctively. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe now." Eli smiled. Too wide. The corners of his mouth stretched further than they should. The skin around it pulling tight. Unnatural. "We are learning," Eli said. But the voice. It wasn't a child's voice. It wasn't even singular. It layered. Dozens of tones overlapping in perfect sync. Coming from him. From Mara. From all of them. Rhea stumbled back. Halleck raised a hand. "Stop. All of you, stop where you are." They obeyed instantly. Every movement ceased at the exact same moment. Like a system pausing. The air felt heavier now. Thicker. Charged with something unseen. Halleck swallowed. What happened here? The pause. Not hesitation. Processing. We observed. Observed what? Halleck pressed. Another pause. Longer this time. As if the answer required refinement. You. The word echoed strangely. Not accusatory. Not hostile. Just factual. One of the team members whispered, "This isn't right." Halleck didn't respond. Because he was staring at their eyes. All of them. Every colonist. Watching. Studying. Then Mara stepped forward again. Closer now. Too close. Her gaze locked onto Halleck's face with unsettling intensity. "We required understanding." "Understanding of what?" he asked, his voice tight. Her expression shifted. A subtle adjustment. Like something trying to align muscles correctly. "To be you." Silence slammed down over the group. No wind. No movement. Just those words. Hanging. Heavy. Behind Mara, the others began to shift slightly. Micro-movements. Small adjustments. As if calibrating. Practicing. Refining. Eli took another step forward. The drone in his hand slipped and hit the ground with a dull clatter. He didn't look down. Didn't react. Just kept smiling. Watching. Rhea grabbed Halleck's arm, her voice barely a whisper. "Commander, those aren't them." He didn't answer. Because deep down, he already knew. And then all at once, every colonist took a step forward. Together. Perfectly synchronized. The lights flickered. Just once. But in that single blink of darkness, something changed. When the lights came back on, they were closer. Much closer. And still smiling. The light stabilized, but no one relaxed. Because the distance had changed. What had been 20 meters was now 10. No one had seen them move. No one had heard footsteps. Yet every colonist stood closer, their shadows stretching long and distorted under the floodlights. "Back up," Halleck ordered quietly. The recon team moved as one, retreating a few steps toward the central hub. The colonists did not follow. They didn't need to. They just stood there. Watching. Halleck forced control into his voice. "No one moves unless I say so." But even as he said it, he knew the command wasn't meant for his team. It was meant for them. Mara tilted her head again. A fraction more this time. As if fine-tuning the gesture. We comply, she said. Again, that layered voice. Dozens speaking as one. Perfectly aligned. Rhea whispered, they're copying us. Not copying, said Joran, the team systems analyst, his voice thin with unease. Studying. Iterating. Halleck didn't take his eyes off Mara. Why bring them back? The pause. They are required. Required for what? No answer. But something shifted. Not physically, at least not at first. It was subtler than that. Attention. Like pressure building beneath the surface. Joran glanced down at his wrist scanner. Commander, I'm picking up something. What kind of something? I don't know. It's interference. But it's not external. Halleck frowned. Define, not external. Joran swallowed. It's coming from them. At that moment, Eli moved again. Not forward. Sideways. A slow, gliding step. Then another. His motion triggered the others. One by one, the colonists began to reposition. Not advancing. Not retreating. Rearranging. What are they doing? Rhea whispered. Joran's voice dropped to a near whisper. They're forming a pattern. Why? I don't know. But he did. Or at least, part of him did. And that part was terrified. Within seconds, the group had spread into a loose semicircle around the recon team. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to surround. Halleck raised his voice. Stop moving. Instantly, they froze. Every single one. Mid-motion. Perfect stillness. The silence returned. But it wasn't empty anymore. It felt occupied. Halleck stepped forward slightly, testing. Mara's eyes followed. So did all the others. Every gaze snapping to him with mechanical precision. You said you're learning, he said carefully. What exactly are you learning? The pause. Behavior. From who? You. Rhea shook her head. No, this isn't possible. But it was happening. Right in front of them. Joran took a slow step back, glancing at his scanner again. It's getting stronger, he muttered. What is? I think they're sinking. Sinking to what? Halleck asked. Joran looked up. His face had gone pale. To us. The realization hit like a drop in temperature. Halleck turned back to Mara. Stop whatever you're doing. She smiled again. Whiter this time. The skin at the corners of her mouth stretched unnaturally, as if it didn't quite fit the motion. We cannot. Why not? Because we are not finished. A low hum began to fill the air. Barely audible at first. More felt than heard. Like a vibration deep beneath the ground. Rhea winced. Do you feel that? Halleck nodded. The ground beneath his boots trembled, just slightly. But enough. Joran's scanner started to flicker. Numbers spiking. Data scrambling. It's coming from below, he said. Same frequency as the anomaly in the logs. Below. Rhea repeated. As if the word itself carried weight. Mara's eyes shifted. Not toward Halleck. Not toward the team. Downward. Toward the ground. And then, every colonist did the same. 47 heads turning in perfect unison. All looking down. The hum grew louder. The air felt heavier. Pressurized. Like something was pushing up from beneath the earth. Halleck's voice hardened. What is under this colony? Mara answered instantly. We are. The ground trembled again. Stronger this time. Dust lifted in faint spirals around their feet. Rhea grabbed Halleck's arm. We need to leave. Now. He didn't argue. Fall back, he ordered. The team turned, moving quickly toward the transport. But before they could take more than a few steps, the colonists spoke again. All of them. In perfect sync. Do not go. The words weren't loud. But they carried. Resonant. Halleck didn't stop. Keep moving. Behind them, footsteps. Not slow this time. Not measured. Too fast. Rhea glanced over her shoulder. And froze. There. She didn't finish. Because what she saw didn't make sense. The colonists were no longer moving like people. Their bodies jerked forward in sharp, unnatural bursts. Limbs bending at wrong angles for fractions of a second before snapping back into place. Distance collapsing between steps. As if space itself wasn't behaving properly around them. "Run!" Halleck shouted. The team broke into a sprint. Boots pounding against the ground. Breath sharp and uneven. The transport just ahead. So close. A hand brushed Rhea's shoulder. "Cold. Too cold," she screamed. Halleck spun, grabbing her arm and pulling her forward. But for a split second, he saw Mara. Right behind them. Closer than she should have been. Smiling. And her eyes. They weren't human anymore. They were deep. Endless. Like something vast was looking out through them. Everything went dark. For less than a second. A flicker. But when the lights came back, they were no longer alone. Because now, the ground itself was moving. The ground didn't split open. It didn't crack or collapse or erupt the way Halleck expected. It shifted. Subtly at first, like something breathing beneath a thin layer of dust. The surface of Arendelle rippled in slow, unnatural waves, as if the earth itself had softened into something fluid, something alive. Halleck staggered, pulling Rhea with him as the terrain beneath their feet pulsed once, twice, then stilled. For half a second, everything froze. Then the humming returned. Louder. Deeper. Not just a vibration anymore, but a presence. "Move. Move." Halleck shouted again. The transport was only a few meters away now. Close enough to see the reflection of the floodlights in its reinforced windshield. Close enough to almost believe they could make it out. Behind them, the footsteps stopped. Halleck risked a glance over his shoulder. The colonists had halted. All 47 stood perfectly still once more. Heads tilted downward. Bodies slack. Like puppets whose strings had been cut. And then, the same. Not falling. Not collapsing. Sinking. Their feet didn't push into the ground. The ground opened to receive them. Like liquid swallowing solid. Rhea choked out a sound. No, that's not. She couldn't finish. Because she was watching Mara Voss disappear. Slowly. Deliberately. Her legs vanished first, then her torso. Her arms remained at her sides, unmoving. Her face still smiling. Still watching. Until only her head remained above the surface. Halleck couldn't look away. "Where are they going?" Joran whispered. But he already knew. Not where. What? Mara's eyes locked onto Halleck one last time. And then she spoke. Only her voice this time. No chorus. No overlap. Just her. "You are not ready." Then she sank completely beneath the ground. Gone. The humming stopped instantly. The ground solidified. Dust settled. And just like that, Arendelle was empty again. No movement. No sound. No sign that anything had ever happened. For a long moment, no one spoke. No one moved. They just stood there, staring at the place where 47 people had disappeared, twice. Halleck was the first to react. Inside. Now. They rushed into the transport, the door slamming shut behind them with a metallic clang that echoed too loudly in the silence. Joran scrambled into the driver's seat, hands shaking as he powered up the system. "Go!" Rhea urged. "I'm trying." The engine stuttered. Then died. No, Joran muttered, frantically tapping the controls. The dashboard flickered erratically. Systems aren't responding. It's like something's interfering. "Override it." Halleck snapped. "I am." Outside, the floodlights flickered again. Twice. Then stabilized. Rhea turned slowly toward the window. "Commander!" Halleck followed her gaze. The ground was moving again. But this time, it wasn't subtle. The surface bulged upward in several places, forming smooth, rounded shapes beneath the dust. Not random. Organized. Something was rising. Joran finally got the engine to turn over. A low rumble filled the cabin. Yes, come on. Drive." Halleck ordered. The transport lurched forward. Then stopped. "What now?" Joran's voice cracked. "The wheels, they're stuck." Halleck looked down. The ground around the vehicle had hardened around the tires. Not like rock. like something that had gripped them. Rhea pressed herself back against the seat. It's holding us. The bulges in the ground began to split open. Not violently, cleanly, like seams parting. From within, darkness. Not shadow. Not absence of light. Something thicker, deeper, and then, movement. Shapes began to emerge. Not fully formed bodies. Not yet. Just fragments. Hands. Faces. Eyes. Dozens of them. They pushed up through the openings, as if the earth were only a thin barrier between two worlds. Their features were incomplete. Unstable. Shifting. Like something still deciding what they should look like. Joran stared, frozen. They're not copies. No, Halleck said quietly. They're two prototypes. One of the shapes pulled itself higher. Its face twitched, reforming rapidly. Eyes adjusting. Skin smoothing. Mouth reshaping. It looked at the transport. At them. And then it spoke. Observation incomplete. The voice was wrong. Not layered like before. Not unified. Fragmented. As if multiple attempts at speech were overlapping imperfectly. Another shape emerged beside it. Then another. Each one slightly different. Each one improving. Rhea covered her mouth. They're still making them. The first figure tilted its head. A familiar gesture now. Learned. Practiced. Iteration required. Halleck's grip tightened on his weapon. This isn't a rescue mission, he said under his breath. This is a breach. The ground beneath the transport shuddered violently. Cracks spread outward, not breaking apart, but revealing more of that endless darkness below. And for a brief, horrifying moment, Halleck saw it. Not shapes. Not fragments. Something vast. A shifting mass stretching far beneath the colony. Endless. Watching. Learning. And it had been there the entire time. Waiting. The surface sealed again. The cracks vanished. The shapes stilled. Silence returned. But now they understood. The colonists hadn't just been taken. They had been studied. And what came back was only the beginning. For a moment, no one spoke. The transport sat trapped in the center of Arendelle, its engine rumbling uselessly against whatever held it in place beneath the ground. Outside, the half-formed figures had gone still again, frozen mid-emergence, like statues caught between states of being. But Halleck knew better. They weren't idle. They were processing. Joran, he said quietly, not taking his eyes off the nearest shape, how long until we can force the wheels free? Joran swallowed, fingers flying over the controls. I don't know if we can. It's not mechanical resistance, it's like the ground is actively adjusting to keep us here. Then shut it down. Joran blinked. What? The engine. Kill all active systems. That's insane. Do it. There was a brief hesitation. Then Joran cut the power. The engine died. The lights inside the transport dimmed. Silence. The figures reacted instantly. Their heads snapped toward the vehicle. All at once. Rhea's voice dropped to a whisper. They noticed. Halleck nodded slowly. Their tracking activity. Energy. Signals. For a few seconds, nothing else happened. The shapes began to sink. Just like the colonists before them. One by one, the incomplete forms melted back into the ground, their unfinished features dissolving as the surface closed over them. With moments, nothing remained. The pressure lifted. Joran stared at the controls. The ground, it released us. Halleck exhaled slowly. It doesn't want dead matter. Rhea frowned. What does that mean? It doesn't care about the vehicle, Halleck said. It cares about us. Movement. Thought. Signal. That's what it's studying. A long, heavy silence followed. Then Joran restarted the engine. The transport moved. They didn't wait. The vehicle accelerated across the colony, past the empty buildings, past the open doors, past the untouched lives that no longer belonged to anyone. The gate loomed ahead. Open. Waiting. As they crossed it, the ground trembled once more. Rhea twisted in her seat. Don't stop. I'm not. Joran snapped. In the rear view, Arendelle shifted. Not visibly breaking apart, but breathing. the entire colony rising and falling in slow, rhythmic motion. And then, it stopped. Just like that. Still, silent. Gone. No one spoke for the rest of the drive. The outpost came into view hours later, its lights cutting through the darkness like something real, something stable, something human. They were rushed inside immediately. Quarantined. Questioned. Start from the beginning, an official said. Halleck didn't sit. Didn't blink. Didn't look away. They're not dead, he said. The room went still. They're not missing, he continued. They're integrated. Whatever is under that colony, it absorbed them. Learned from them. Learned what? The official asked carefully. Halleck hesitated. Because the answers sounded impossible. Everything. Rhea spoke next, her voice shaking. It's not just copying appearances. It's studying behavior, language, reactions. It's building something. Joran added quietly, and it's getting better. The official exchanged glances with the others in the room. You're suggesting an unknown subterranean entity has the ability to replicate human beings? Halleck shook his head slowly. No. He leaned forward slightly. It's learning to replace them. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. That's not possible, someone said. Halleck didn't argue. He just reached into his jacket and placed a small device on the table. Joran's recorder. I managed to isolate part of the signal, Joran said. From before we shut everything down. Play it, the official said. Joran hesitated. Then pressed the button. First. Static. A voice. Not human. Not singular. Not stable. But trying. Iteration, improving, expansion required. The audio distorted. Crackled. Clear. Surface insufficient. The pause. The words that changed everything. We will come where you are. The recording ended. No one moved. No one spoke. An alarm sounded. Sudden. What is that? A technician rushed into the room, pale. Sir, we just got reports from Sector 12. What kind of reports? The technician hesitated. Disappearances. Halleck closed his eyes for a brief moment. How many? The answer came quietly. 7. And they just came back. The room went cold. Alive? Someone asked. The technician nodded slowly. But? Halleck opened his eyes. But what? The technician swallowed. They're asking the same questions. What questions? The technician's voice dropped to a whisper. How to be human.